Roll, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Mr. Corey?
Here.
Mr. Hayward?
Here.
Ms. Parlamas?
Here.
Dr. Pucci Bender?
Here.
Ms. Stevenson?
Here.
Mr. Tang?
Here.
Ms. Calvez? Dr. Robinson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Parlamas, are you able to lead us through the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of meeting. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, as amended by PL 2025, Chapter 72, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on March 3rd, 2026, by posting the notice on the Glen Rock Public Schools website where legal notices and advertisements are listed. Mr. Tang, are you able to read the mission statement, please?
The Glen Rock School District founded on principles of education in partnership with supportive community, provides an exceptional education to all students to cultivate resilient, responsible, and engaged global citizens.
Thank you. So welcome back, everybody from school break. It was wonderful. Do you have anything for us?
I have a very short report for you because we have other people doing presentations and I don't want to take up their time. So first of all, everybody welcome back. I hope everybody had happy and healthy holidays if they celebrate them, and if not, just had a nice restful week. We are back in full swing here in the schools. All the spring sports are busy. It's hard to find a parking spot in the afternoon now. I don't know how many of you experienced that today. I always tell the new teachers, once you get to spring break, which is a good long haul, by the time you blink, the year's over. So things are going to come at us fast and furious for the rest of the year, and it's always a good time and busy time. Lots of fun things happening in the school year for moving on. So that's really all I'm going to talk about right now, and just pass it on to our presentations. And so the first one, Dr. Daniel is going to present for a couple of our students here.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone. A National Merit Finalist is a high-achieving high school student recognized through the National Merit Scholarship Program, a national academic competition based primarily on top scores of the PSAT. Students first qualify as semifinalists, typically among top 1% in their state, and then meet additional academic, application, and testing requirements to advance to finalist standing, achieved by only a select group of students nationwide. This accomplishment reflects the dedication, hard work, and academic excellence, and places 2 of our students among the top students in the country for this program. Congratulations to John Merchant and Joseph Yu on being named National Merit Finalists for the Glen Rock School District.
Dr. Robertson, I have the esteemed pleasure of introducing a couple of our students this evening who I've had the pleasure of working with over the last couple of months, put together an idea that they had and bring it to fruition. And they're here tonight to present that idea to the board. And I know you will find them as convincing and astute and prepared as I have in every meeting that we've had together. With that, come on forward and make your pitch. As I like to say, Glen Rock meets Shark Tank.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Jasneet Kochar, representing the Glen Rock Students for Service Club, a club composed of students whose goal is to better the school and the Glen Rock community through outreach programs and volunteering. Along with me are Nikos McAllister and Aaron Arona, who have also been working alongside myself and Ms. Walter to create a better environment for students and staff in the Glen Rock Middle and High School. Tonight, we are presenting our proposal for a student-run vending machine initiative. Our goal is to establish a sustainable student-operated program that not only funds student activities and programs, but also provides the opportunity for interested students to immerse themselves in authentic hands-on experiences in business operations, financial management, and leadership. We are seeking your support and resources to make this vision a reality.
The Glen Rock Students for Service Club proposes launching a student-operated vending machine through a $7,655 loan provided by the Board of Education to create a reliable, self-sustaining funding stream for student programs. This initiative is designed to generate consistent revenue, first to repay the loan, and then to directly support the clubs, leadership initiatives, and community projects, while also providing students with hands-on experience in business operations, financial management, and entrepreneurship. Supported by student-led fundraising efforts, including Chick-fil-A initiative, this proposal reflects strong financial planning and a clear commitment to long-term impact.
While Glen Rock offers a wide range of student activities and programs, many of these rely on inconsistent and infrequent fundraising efforts, which makes it difficult to sustain and grow these initiatives over time. At the same time, access to drinks and snacks throughout the school day is very limited outside of lunch periods, which impacts both student convenience and overall experience. Additionally, previous vending machines in the school are currently out of order, creating a gap that has not yet been addressed. These machines need to be replaced with more modern, reliable alternatives that better meet the needs of today's students and staff. Together, these challenges highlight an opportunity to introduce a solution that addresses both funding and accessibility in a sustainable way.
We are formally requesting a loan of $7,655. This funding will cover the vending machine itself, initial inventory provided by Pomptonian, and a card reader payment system. The loan will be repaid from vending machine profits, making it a self-sustaining investment. Additional funding sources have been identified to reduce the loan amount, including ongoing Students for Service fundraising efforts and profit from our upcoming Chick-fil-A fundraiser. This approach demonstrates our proactive planning and commitment to minimizing financial risk for this school.
The vending machine operations will be managed by a student vending committee composed of Students for Service members and any interested students. This committee will work under the supervision of our faculty advisor, Ms. Walter, to ensure accountability and proper oversight. Students will track sales, manage inventory, and record profits while presenting monthly reports to the Board of Education. Pomptonian, our vendor, will handle restocking and provide detailed sales and inventory reports, allowing students to practice interpreting real-world business data. This creates an invaluable learning opportunity in budgeting, financial accountability, supply management, and entrepreneurship.
With the help of Mr. Canales, we have identified the final location for the vending machine. The sports lobby is the most ideal location due to consistent foot traffic throughout the day, after-school activities, athletic practices, community events, and summer programs. This location ensures both visibility and supervision while maximizing sales opportunities. Through this high-traffic area, we aim to create a sustainable revenue stream and integrate the machine into daily student routines.
The vending machine will feature a diverse selection of snacks and beverages, balancing popular student favorites with nutritious options. Snack options include granola bars, protein bars, baked chips, trail mix, crackers, candy, and packaged baked goods. Drinks will remain non-caffeinated, including vitamin drinks, juice, sports drinks, and sparkling water, protein shakes, and water. Pricing will remain student-friendly, ranging from $2.50 to $4.50, ensuring there is no competition with other on-campus options. Additionally, we will match our prices to Pomptonian's pre-established pricing options in the school cafeteria. By combining healthy and popular choices, we ensure that the machine meets a wide range of student preferences while adhering to school nutrition guidelines.
Based on updated projections, which are grounded in student-driven data collected through a school-wide survey from grades 6 through 11, supported by a marketing class competition that helped generate over 200 responses on demand, pricing, and product preferences, we anticipate selling approximately 150 snacks and 75 drinks per day, resulting in a total of about 225 items sold daily. With an average price of $3 per item, this would generate approximately $650 in daily revenue, which translates to an estimated monthly revenue of $13,000 over the course of a 20-day school month. After accounting for product costs, which are approximately 50% of revenue, as well as maintenance and service fees, the estimated monthly profit is $5,000. These projections demonstrate a strong and sustainable financial model that supports both loan repayment and long-term funding for student programs.
With an estimated monthly profit of $5,000, we can have accelerated loan repayment timeline of approximately 5 years. But in order to maintain a responsible approach, we continue to present a more conservative repayment estimate when discussing this proposal. This ensures that even under lower sales conditions, the project remains financially sustainable and low risk. Additionally, contributions from ongoing fundraising efforts, including the Chick-fil-A fundraiser and our current club balance, may further reduce the loan amount and shorten the repayment timeline. Once the loan is all repaid, all profits will be directed towards supporting student activities, clubs, and leadership initiatives.
This initiative offers student practical, hands-on experience in entrepreneurship, financial management, marketing, inventory tracking, and leadership. Students will analyze sales data and trends, learning to interpret inventory turnover, product performance, and revenue projections. Members of the Students for Service Club and any interested students will participate in reviewing these reports, providing a meaningful educational experience in financial literacy, business analytics, and project management. The project promotes accountability, leadership skills, and collaborations that will benefit students beyond their time at Glen Rock High School.
We have carefully identified potential risks and developed mitigation strategies. Low sales can be addressed by adjusting product offerings based on student demand. Pomptonian's assistance ensures machine maintenance and repairs are handled promptly with the help of our maintenance staff. Inventory will be tracked and reported by students under faculty supervision to prevent errors. Finally, awareness of the vending machine will be promoted through school announcements, Schoology posts, flyers, and recorded morning announcements to ensure all students are informed and engaged.
Once the initial loan is repaid, the vending machine could generate several $1,000s annually for student activities. Our long-term vision includes the possibility of expanding to additional machines, introducing healthier options, and funding leadership programs. Beyond financial sustainability, this initiative serves as a platform for future student-led projects, which promotes leadership, organizational skills, and sustainable program development. The vending machine project represents a first step toward fostering a lasting culture of student innovation and responsibility. The operations plan. So the vending machine will be managed by the Student Vending Committee, and with the help of faculty, it will be under constant supervision. And for students' responsibilities, we'll be in charge of sales tracking, inventory, and profile report. Our partnership with Pomptonian, they'll also be in charge of restocking and reporting.
Looking ahead, we plan to expand this initiative beyond the vending machine by encouraging Glen Rock High School students to become leaders. We can share our journey from identifying a need in the school to collaborating with advisors like Ms. Walter to reaching out to Mr. Canellis and ultimately presenting to the Board of Education. By walking students through this real process, we hope to inspire others to take initiative and bring forward their own ideas to improve our school community. Additionally, through social media, school communications, and community platforms, Pomptonians' involvement will gain wider visibility, showcasing their commitment to student wellness and innovation. This exposure may open doors to future partnerships with other schools and districts, potentially inspiring similar collaborations and expanding business opportunities for Pomptonian.
In addition to its financial and educational benefits, we also want this initiative to contribute to school culture and spirit. We plan to personalize the vending machine with Glenrock-themed designs, including a custom full Panther machine wrapping that reflects our school identity. Several student artists have already expressed interest in contributing designs.
We are also building partnerships to expand the impact of this initiative. For example, we were working with HOSA to include QR codes on the vending machine that link to health facts and wellness tips, helping promote healthier choices. We are also partnering with Pomptonian, our food service provider, who will support inventory, restocking, and provide sales data. Together, this allows the machine to be both a student-driven initiative and a professionally supported operation.
To strengthen visibility and accountability for student-led projects, we are introducing the Students for Service Student Support Service Impact Bug. This symbol will appear on all materials connected to Students for Service, including flyers, presentations, and especially the vending machine branding. Any club, project, or initiative that receives support from our vending machine profits will include this badge, creating consistent identity. This allows the school community to easily recognize when a project is powered by students and reinforces the impact of Students for Service Club work through Glen Rock School District.
In conclusion, the Student Vending Machine Initiative provides a sustainable, student-led method of funding school programs while creating valuable educational experiences. By approving a $7,655 startup loan, the Board of Education will allow students to manage a real business, develop leadership skills, and generate ongoing revenue for student activities. We would also like to extend our sincere thanks to Mr. Canellis for his continued support and guidance throughout the process. We respectfully request your support for this initiative, which promises to benefit the Glen Rock High School community for years to come. Thank you all for your time and consideration. We are now open to taking any questions you may now have. Thank you.
Wow. So I got this surprise presentation today in my email inbox, and I'm really blown away by the presentation that you all have presented to us today. So I just wanted to say that, congratulations for taking the leap and, sitting in discomfort and leading us through this presentation and getting your idea across really well.
Thank you.
So phenomenal job.
Thank you.
One of the questions that I have, so for any of the programs that, any of the student programs that would be requesting, funds, they would all go through their own individual processes of being approved, and then they would come to you seeking, funding, and then it would be applied to their program? Is that how, I guess?
Yes, that's the similar process. We were planning to open a Google form or just some organized source of communication run through Ms. Walter, where the club advisors, so any teachers who are, or even sports advisors, any teachers who are interested will fill out that form, and then the profits will be distributed then.
Great. Any other board members have questions? Go ahead.
So first, great presentation. I think a month ago, I was just asking Mr. Canales, why don't we have a water vending machine outside? So I guess we're getting an answer. But as a Shark Tank fan, I have to ask, how did you get to the $7,655 a number?
This number is calculated through both the starting vending machine cost of how much it actually costs to do, as well as Pomptonian fees for the restocking and the supplies. This number also manages the initial restocking that Pomptonian will give us, all the initial inventory. It includes any fees that are associated with buying the vending machine, as well as the credit card machine that will be installed. With Mr. Canellis' help, we've established this number through all those different calculations.
Got it. And how many machines?
We're just opening one snack. It's a combo machine, so it has both snack and drink. And then we're also looking to refurbish the Snapple machine a little bit in the sports lobby. So we'll have two vending machines running: the snack combo machine, the snack and drink combo machine in the sports lobby, and the Snapple machine over here in the senior lounge.
Thank you. Any other-
And also, one of the slides stated, I just want to add on to what I was saying, as we get more profits from this initiative, we can look to expand to more vending machines, even in other schools like Coleman, like the elementary schools, or even more in this building.
All right. Go ahead.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Fabulous. I don't know, how did you come up with this idea?
I've always been like into vending machines. Like, it's something that I've always loved doing, actually. Like, I tried doing one when I was a kid, like in 8th grade. I wanted to have a vending machine in a laundromat, funny enough, and it's something that I've always been interested in. So it really, like, I noticed how difficult it was to buy snacks and drinks outside of the school, outside of lunch. Like, I play football and basketball, and after, like, right before sports practices, I'm always hungry, I need a drink or something like that, and there were not really reliable options. So I thought this would be a great idea to take on, and to institute the vending machine so that we can improve the school and help the Students for Service Club as well.
I was a business ed teacher, high interest in FBLA and DECA. Anyone involved?
I'm in DECA.
Go for it, keep going. Nationals is waiting for you.
Yep, thank you.
I also want to add on that Ms. Walter, with her help, she's been trying to, like, for many, many years as Students for Service Club advisor, she's trying to make, like, she made a garden in the courtyard with the help of the advisor. She's trying to help beautify this school. So she's been wanting to do murals or this vending machine project for, like, maybe 1 or 2 years now, and now it's become a reality. So thank you.
Did
Big
you say
thank you to
murals?
Ms. Walters then, right?
Did you say murals? Keep that in mind. This board and this community is ready for murals. Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. That was a fantastic presentation. As one of the students presenting today said to me, Ms. Walters helped immensely, and they also said that Mr. Canellis was the GOAT, and was able to provide anything they needed informationally he was able to do. So thank you guys for presenting.
Wonderful.
Can I ask one question? How you charge the student from the vending machine? How do they pay?
So we are gonna have, like, we're open to many different, like, payment methods. So you could do cash, you could do credit card, and you could do Apple Pay. So we'll have all of that.
You require phone to do Apple Pay.
Yep, and that's included in this loan.
Right, so that's, may or may not be, right, it depends on if students are allowed to use a phone. I just encourage you to think about that, the friction of
Yes.
payment. That's gonna be important to business.
Yep. Go ahead.
What a great presentation, very professional, best one I've seen in a long time. Love all the graphics and what you did with it. My question to you is, are you guys seniors?
Me and Aaron are juniors, and Nikos is a sophomore.
Okay, so we've got you for a while. So you
Yeah,
get to
this
see
is-
this grow and how it works, fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to see how it works.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so seeing no other comments or questions, can I get a straw poll of yes or no for support? So if you're in favor, if you could raise your hand, yes. All right, seeing no hands lowered, then we will draft a resolution to support.
Thank you, guys. Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So our next presentation is from Miss Melissa Del Rosso, and she's going to talk about some board training from the school boards. So we'll just give the families just a minute. Just a minute.
Hi, everybody. Oh, my gosh. This is not the time. Okay, my voice is going to go in and out, so I apologize for the up and down and everything else. It's coming and it's going. Anyway, thank you for having me tonight. And there's a lot of information on the slides. I will make sure you get a copy of this. So anything I missed tonight that I don't get out, you will have in detail.
I just put the presentation in your presentation folder in the shared drive, so. they have it.
Perfect. Okay, so that's already done. There you go. All right, so thank you for having me. We're going to talk tonight about meeting effectiveness and parliamentary procedure. So if you have any questions, I encourage you to please, let's make it a little more interactive. So as it comes up, don't hold your questions for the end. Anything I can answer or try a scenario or something that might come up that you have a question on, please don't hesitate to ask, okay? The more you talk, the less I do. So this is the agenda for the evening. We'll be going through a well-planned agenda, the board member and superintendent responsibilities, 10 recommendations for board meetings. We're going to do a quick overview of parliamentary procedure and my thoughts on that, and then we'll wrap it up. But it says questions, but please ask them throughout. I also left on in front of you some, I think it's 8, jump in somebody. 8 traits of an effective board. Yeah, it's a great read, and it'll highlight some of the things we talk about tonight. Okay, so well-planned agenda. It organizes the business of the board. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to sound repetitive, or more importantly, you probably know it, but you might get a few pieces out of it that jump out. There will be some things that you do differently because boards do things differently. So please jump in at any point about that, and I will bring up a few things that I might ask you how you handle. Okay, so organize the business of the board. It's just basically the framework for the meeting. Number 2, it serves as the basis for information needs. So it indicates to the superintendent the backup material they need, basically what they need. It directs the superintendent, the BA, and any other appropriate staff to gather the material. It's basically a roadmap. Okay. I'm having clicker issues. There we go. All right. Helps keep surprises out of meeting. I want to really highlight here how important it is that there should be no surprises at the board table, okay? So that's why you're getting your agenda and all the backup material in advance. It structures the agenda to reduce the tendency to wander off topic as well, and it minimizes the appearance of last-minute items. Not that you can't have walk-on motions or things like that, but you want to keep things as together as possible and also as in advance. So as board members, you have as much information as you need to make decisions. It also may appear sometimes when you do this very well to the public that you don't need to have discussion, but a lot of times the public doesn't get to see all the backup that you have, the backup materials that you've reviewed in advance of the meeting, okay? If everybody okay with my voice going in and out, are you getting this? Okay, I apologize. It allows the board president to maintain control of the meeting. So again, it gives the agenda, the framework of what to follow. It engages the community because many times the community is going to look at your agenda when you post it to see what you will be voting on, what action you'll be taking, and they know if they should appear or not appear, and it saves them the trouble of coming out when they know that you have it covered and it's not necessarily a topic that they're worried about. And noting that you do not have a large number of people here tonight shows that that is working well, and it's the way it should be. You should get larger crowds when you're doing awards, when you have student presentations like you had, and then it should thin out when you're doing the board business, unless it's something controversial. So, good job. It provides a continuous flow of useful information to everyone at all times, and that means the board members, the administration, the teachers and the staff, the community, everybody gets to know what's going to come up. It serves as a planning tool. So it determines follow-up implementation responsibilities for the administration, and a record, basically. And I know you have minutes, but it's always easy to go back to see what was covered and when it was covered. So roles and responsibilities. I'm sure you've heard this a million times, and I'm going to probably say it a million times this evening. Simply put, the board is the what, and the superintendent is the how. How? I just did a presentation on a little bit more of this, and there'll be different scenarios, and one of the scenario is the architect versus the contractor, right? The architect comes up with the framework of the plan, which is the board, and the superintendent and administration carry out the building of a building, right? Including purchasing the materials, hiring the crew. And what happens if something goes wrong and you can't follow the plan? It goes back to the architect to be reimagined and worked through with the contractor. So that's the best explanation of the what and the how. I won't go into all of this, but it explains the what and the how for planning, for programs, for personnel, for finance, for facilities, and for communications. The basics are, planning is basically what you do every time. When you're making policies, that's the plan you're following. Program, your job is to oversee how the programming is going, and it is the superintendent through the administration and staff to come up with the how of how that's going to work out. Personnel, 9 times out of 10, you are going with the recommendation of the superintendent. It is the superintendent working with the personnel on a daily basis. The one big role that you have, which you have coming up, is you actually do hire the superintendent. That's the one role that you have in personnel that you are fully responsible for.
Over the years, this particular one has come up with personnel and hiring. When it's considered, it's on our agenda, we are voting sometimes to approve things, not sometimes, we're always voting to approve things. And the idea is like, well, if I'm voting to approve it, then that means I either can, change it, or like I can, if for instance, if you, let's just say a teacher, an administrator, whichever, if the superintendent recommends it, it comes before the board, and then we vote, we don't necessarily get to choose, say, oh, there was a wonderful science teacher that I really liked, that,
Right.
did you interview them, that kind of thing. How do we help new board members understand, when something comes on the agenda for you to vote and approve based on the superintendent's recommendation, what agency do you have in saying yes or no? If you're saying no, but the person is, otherwise qualified, meeting the requirements, like how do we navigate that?
Okay, so board members have the right to vote no. They have the right to abstain. If you don't feel like you have enough information and you want to abstain, that's fine. A lot of this is built on your relationship with your superintendent and administration, okay? It's really important. What you have to remember is your job is the oversight, the high level. You have hired a superintendent, or you have a superintendent that you should have faith in. And you'll think of this as you go down the road of hiring your superintendent, right? And when you go down that road, you're going to review their background. And if you compare your background to their background, I bet you're going to find that they are more qualified to pick the teachers and the staff along that way, okay? That being said, it's not as if you don't have the opportunity to vote, or if you have questions, you have the right to ask the questions. I am going to caution you that this is not the right you should use on every single hire. It's not your job. Your job is to have the faith in the administration that runs the school. The oversight level, I'll give another example, is if you're looking out at the ocean and you're on a cliff, you're looking at what's coming in the horizon. You want to know if there's any issues. You want to know if there's storm clouds coming. You want to know if there's good weather coming. You are not looking at the grains of sand, and you are not looking at the fish that are right below you, right? You're looking from a cliff view. So these are the kind of things that you need to think about. That being said, you might have some concerns about a specific school, or I would recommend focusing more on positions when it comes to personnel from an input perspective than actual candidates. But yeah, if you know something, it might be a private conversation, obviously, because you're going to be in executive session when it comes to personnel. But if you know something that you feel that they may not be aware of, or you saw something, I hate to say it, that you Googled, I don't recommend you doing any of this, but sometimes at the higher level, you'll run into that. And you might say, but I heard there was this issue at the last district. Again, I don't expect it as you go further down, but maybe in the administrative level. Or you're concerned that they may not have a background in a specific area that you feel is important, or you want to confirm that they do, even better. Those are okay. It's not okay if you're doing that for every single hire. When you start doing that for every hire, you are micromanaging. Does that answer it?
Yes, thank you.
Any questions on that? Okay. Finance, the big one that you're dealing with, which you're dealing with right now, is the budget, right? Again, you're looking at that. When it comes to the budget, you don't need to go, you have your committee, and your committee's going to do the grunt work as far as getting down there into the details. I recommend that you work with your BA and your administration and you get the answers that you need. But again, don't look for that gotcha. Don't look, there has to be a balance and a respect. Unless you don't have that, unless you have a reason not to have it. Don't go in assuming, I feel right now that there's a climate out there with boards, and I fully understand why people are worried about the boards that are out there right now having deficits, right? We're tightening everything up thanks to the healthcare costs, right? There's a lot of things, and I understand it. And board members are nervous because they're going to be sitting here. When the deficit thing comes out, it's the board that's sitting here taking all the public hits, right? So I understand that. But know your district and watch for the signs. The things that you would ask for in a budget are, if student enrollment is dropping, but we continue to increase staffing, what's happening here? That's the level you're looking at. You don't need to look at, wait a minute, how many second grade teachers do we have? How many third grade teachers do we have? See the difference there? You may need to go that route if you find discrepancies. But in general, that shouldn't be an issue. Questions? Okay. I'm going to go to the next one. Meeting procedures. Most Board of Educations, and I believe you follow as well, Robert's Rules of Order. It ensures the rights of the majority. It protects the rights of the minority. It defends the rights of individual members, and it safeguards members who are absent from the meeting. Meeting procedures. All board members are encouraged to treat one item at a time. Extend courtesy and fairness to all. Let the majority rule. Responsible board members support board majority decisions. This is a big deal. You always have to remember, you are one of a board of 9, right? You alone make no decisions. It is the board as a whole. It's great when it's unanimous. Oftentimes it's not. I have had pushback from board members who say, I'm always in the minority, I'm always in the minority, or we have a split board, it's always in the minority. Boards of education should not fall out that way. If you don't have politics running behind the scenes, filling your board, as I hope you don't, there's no parties involved here. And the beauty of how boards of education work so well, you are individual community members of all different diversities. And when I say all different diversities, I mean on every level, right? You may have students in the school, you may not. You may have had students in the school. There's a bunch of different pieces to this. You may never have students in the school. All of that's fine. It's that beauty of how that diversity comes together to make the decisions. If you are in the minority, you must support the majority, okay? And accept it and move on. And make sure when you're out speaking in public about it, that you're speaking about the board overall decision, which is the majority. Not, well, yeah, but I didn't like this, or et cetera. This is why I disagree with it. Once a decision has been made, you should support the board's decision. You are allowed to vote no, and you're allowed to be on record for voting no, and that's fine. But the goal here is that you're one body, and it's the majority rules. I will caution you that you should listen to all board members, especially if you're having a conversation that is heated and you're divided. And I encourage the board president to make sure that the quiet person is given a chance to speak. It's usually a new board member who doesn't know what they should do. But always ask for it if you find board members not speaking, because a lot of times their opinion is important too, and they need to be heard. And if they're not willing to speak and vocalize, you should try to get it out of them in some way without embarrassing them. Okay? The community's perception of the board's effectiveness rests on the way the board meetings are conducted. We'll get to that. So here's your two pictures, which reflects your meetings. I'm going to say I have watched a few of your meetings. I'm going with the bottom right. So that's a good thing. Meeting roles and responsibilities. So the superintendent, let me just pull out my highlights here. So the superintendent should be gathering the input from the district administrations as needed to prepare the agenda and get the information. And usually they meet with the board president, usually the BA. Everybody does it differently, so it's whatever your board norms are. I'm also going to mention, I don't know if you have board norms, but board norms are the way you process things, because boards do it differently. And various things may happen. For example, if you have a question on the agenda, who do you contact? Boards do it differently. If it's a question, you can go to a committee head. That's usually your first step. Second step would be the president. Third step would be the superintendent or the BA. Make sure you know your board norms, because that example I gave does not apply to everybody. A lot of smaller districts, I come from a district where a superintendent had an open door, and we thought that was insane, because it was great. It's great until it's not, because sometimes boards like to come and spend their Friday, for board members like to come and spend their Friday just to ask a ton of questions, right? She was amazing, and she was able to handle it very well, so I'm not meaning to critique her, but it's just make sure your board norms protect your administration as well as your board members, right? Because there should be norms in when your board members should get answers and how the answers should come. Oftentimes, some boards will send their questions to the superintendent, and the superintendent will answer those questions at the meeting. Some will answer them before the meeting by sending out an email, not to reply all, right? Do you want to weigh in on how you do it? Do you have a norm?
I was going to say, we have a culture, but I don't think we have a board norm document. And do you have a draft or maybe a process that maybe I can?
I would recommend, I can give you any of that information, but it's usually a working session when you come up with that, because a lot of information comes out of it, and it'll give you a bunch of different ways to go. But it's also a great team building exercise and getting everybody's working together. So I would put that on the list of things that you can do working towards your board certification. Board certification does not have to be me standing up here lecturing. Board certification can be working together to facilitate what your district needs, okay? It's you learning through the process, and it's beneficial for all. I don't want you to just check off the box to get the board certification. Not that I'm saying you're doing that. I don't want you to be bored. Interaction, you learn better. I could send you all this stuff and you can read it, right? So I like the scenarios and the examples.
Thank you.
Board president gathers input from the board members and reviews the annual planning calendar to make sure that the right topics are hitting it. We offer that through school boards, but I'm sure you have one, or you have ours, the 12-month calendar, so you know what should be heading up on the agenda. It's also good for the board members to have that so they know what's coming. Excuse me. Okay. Board members, they must be aware of the procedure as well, because if they want to get something added to your agenda, you have to know how. Sometimes, in order to get it added to the agenda, it first has to go through a committee. Sometimes it doesn't need to go through a committee. Sometimes it just needs to be mentioned to the board president as an interest or something to get onto the agenda at some point. Again, it's up to your board norms. The important thing is that the board members feel heard as well and that they understand the process to be heard. Okay? The price of greatness is responsibility, which falls on you. So board member meeting responsibilities, studying the agenda, referring all questions, again, depending on what your norms are. You always start with the committee chair, because I know you have committees, right? Go to your committee. Oh.
We're in the process. So
You're
we have
right,
ad hoc, but
it just
we're-
dawned on me, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a committee as a whole, I would go to your president. But when you go into committees, you can go to the committee chair. What I will caution you on, when you shift from it goes back and forth, and I'm just giving you both sides. When you go from a committee of a whole to individual committees, there will be board members who will feel left out, okay? They will feel like, stuff happened and I wasn't there and I didn't get the details and now I have all these questions. So coming up with those board norms are going to be very important when you go into committees and making sure that those are questions being answered. And committees is a separate conversation, but because you're a board of 9, when you make your committees, you can have a rotating seat to allow a random committee member, if there's somebody who's showing interest and wants to be involved or be touching on other committees, it's an option. It's also an option that I've watched in other boards. If a board member isn't able to make a committee meeting, they can offer that seat up. Again, with board norms, you have the norms because you don't want it to turn into their first time, so they have 1,000 questions and you're starting back from scratch. Because everybody's time is valuable. You are all volunteers. You do not get paid to do this. So the goal would be to find the most efficient way to make them work, and that everybody feels that they're being heard and included. And that's a juggling act, it's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's legit. I mean, I felt it myself on occasion, I understand it wholeheartedly. Okay?
Question.
Yes.
On the committees and having a committee chair and such, and having questions being the need for an answer, do you feel or recommend that technically the only person who really can give the accurate best answer would be the superintendent or the BA? Right? So if we even have committees, would it not be appropriate to have our questions go to the president, who then in turn collects all the questions before the next board meeting and then gets the responses from the superintendent and the BA? Because having a third person involved, as in the chair, might not know the answer, so or might not give the correct information. I would, just to avoid.
Well, that goes into training with your committee chairs, because your committee chair is going to need to take minutes. They're going to need to be accurate minutes. Your superintendent will be reviewing them, whether they're sitting in the meeting or they have an administrator in the meeting. So the accuracy should be there. I understand your concern, because there's always, I don't care how great we are, there's always an interpretation that
Or
an
a
individual
question.
makes.
A
No, but
question that
even-
hasn't been even discussed, right?
Right, or even in the
Questions
answering
for
to the question. And that's why I cautioned you before when I said your message as a board member, if you're in the minority, might not be the same message that the majority in a final decision was. So you need to be very careful. I also am going to mention, and again, this would come with training, and things you don't think of is the language you're using, right, to communicate. Communication is a whole thing on its own. And I have watched very dysfunctional boards separated, and yet I will watch board members arguing the same point repeatedly. They're all on the same page. 3 hours later, they can't get to a consensus. They all want the same thing. If you listen, you can hear it. So there's just different pieces to it, and communication's a component of it. I wouldn't say that I would recommend your process, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't. I would recommend that comes up with the board norms, and there's norms for committees, there's norms for how but I totally hear you, I totally respect the question. But I think it's something the board has to feel comfortable, because every board is different. You know, and you're not just doing it for yourselves, but you're doing it for your future board members that come on. So you need to start that culture and make sure with your norms that you have some rules, and they may change. You may create your norms and they may not work. And then you just try it again. Just like goals, everything is fluid. If it's not working, we go back to the drawing board, and it might just be a slight tweak, or it might be a complete overhaul. And as I mentioned, I've watched boards go from a committee of a whole to committees, and then back. And usually it ends up in a hybrid of some kind, depending on what what the purpose of that committee is. Okay, so board members' responsibility is studying the agenda, make sure you're prepared, excuse me, referring all questions where they need to be. And it's also important that there's a time frame they're going to get the answers back, and that's why I said sometimes it's not until the board meeting for everybody, so everybody hears it the same time, the same way, and it encourages a discussion in that manner, or maybe not, maybe it just answers the question. Surprise-free meetings. You know, again, don't go for the gotchas, don't go for the drop the bomb. You know, it's kind of like you learned at home, keep your dirty laundry, and, you know, you want to be transparent, please don't confuse that. Full transparency is important, but you have to act professional, and I don't like to say don't make it personal, because everything, I mean, you're spending your time up here, you're here for a personal reason. You have a dedication to the students, you have a dedication to the district, and I respect that wholeheartedly. But you have to take a step back if you're finding often you're getting offended by something. And then it just might need to be, we need to check this and we need to figure out why. So those are the things I just caution you on when you get to this point. Give the responsible party time to prepare an answer. Covered that. Avoid embarrassment. When the member's not prepared, right, because they don't have the answers or they're not comfortable they're going to get the answers, that's when you start to get some of the back and forth and the trust issues. So if you have a norm and you know the superintendent's going to bring the answers to the table and it's not that he's ignoring you, then you know what the next step is, okay? Don't play the audience. This is a big one. Don't play the audience. I'm going to read the whole thing. A school board member does not represent a particular area, interest group, and must work for the welfare of all children in the district. Base decisions on what is best for the total community rather than a particular area, vested interest group, or organization. It's the majority of the students usually, right? And I find that if you ask yourself the question, which is what's right for the students, it becomes much clearer in which way you're going to vote. Not saying 100% of the time, but I would say at least 90%. And that could be voting about something for teachers, because the goal could be if teachers are happy, then students will be happy, right? And I don't mean just give them the farm. I'm just saying there's a balancing act here, but if you go back down to the root cause of why you're here, which is the students, it does sometimes make that, maps it out a little bit better to help you get to where you want to be. The other thing here is a lot of new board members will come on from after campaigning. And I've watched this at board meetings. Well, I represent the people that voted for me, and I promised them this, this, and this. I don't care what you promised them when you ran. You only have one vote, and whatever you promised, if it's not to the benefit of the entire student body, your promise isn't going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. And unfortunately, a lot of candidates that run don't understand that before they get on the board. But once you get on the board, and you've had some new board member training, and you've taken your oath, and you've read your ethics, you have a new plan in that situation. So that's something else to be cautious about when you're having discussion. Okay? Thoughtful votes, feel free to make sure that you're heard, make sure that you're understood. But after one or two tries, getting louder, getting longer, filibustering will not get the rest of the board on board. It just infuriates yourself, right? And that would also be playing to the audience, so you don't want to do that as well. So keep those things in consideration as you're having your debates. Stay away from judgment words, right? Use facts as much as possible. Stick to the facts. And then use your own things. Never call out another board member or personally disagree with a board member. Conflicts of interest. Board members who have a conflict of interest just need to know they need to recuse themselves and they need to leave the room when it comes to the discussion, or stay out of the discussion. Chain of command, board members' chain of command. Board members advise of any issues. You refer that individual right back into the chain of command. If they have an issue with a teacher, refer them back to the teacher. If they're frustrated and said the teacher's the next step would be, I assume, the principal, right? And whatever the chain of command is, what you do not want to do, and you need to make sure that they are aware of, you do not have the authority to do anything in that situation if a community member or a parent or somebody comes up to you with an issue. You don't have the authority to solve that problem. Most importantly, if you get involved into that problem and you get into the weeds with the details, you have now compromised yourself and you will be conflicted should such an item work its way back up to the board for consideration. So always think about that. And it undermines your administration and your staff if you step in, and it's helping the community understand that piece of it. They will get a better result if they bring it back to the proper place. The other thing I recommend is the next call is to your superintendent, to let your superintendent know what you just advised and what you saw. I also recommend not to ask at the next meeting or a few days later, so what happened with that? We're all curious and we want to know, but what you don't want to do as a board member is you don't want to get involved in it. You want to stay out of it. I also caution you, if you have students, I'll just give a scenario. A lot of time, board members have children in the district. The parents kind of hang out together. The kids all play together. It's pizza after a game, sporting event, etc. Some of that stuff will come up sometimes while you're in that area. I recommend that you excuse yourself should that kind of conversation come up. Even if you know the answers, for example, you might be sitting there and the hot topic might be the way some kind of incident was handled. And you know the information out there is misinformation. You know they're talking about misinformation. Do yourself a favor and try to get yourself out of it, because at that point in time, you're not a board member, right? You're a parent. And when you start to cross those things, it's going to be more complicated for you. And I know the board member in you, the instinct is to correct it. But sometimes then you get into a gray area. So I'm not telling you what you can and cannot do. You will do what you feel in your gut that you need to do. It's just a recommendation to help keep things a little balanced for you as a board member. Questions? Okay. So the chain of command, and again, letting the superintendent know, just so that when they get a call, they know and you're covered. That's the point of that. It's not a law, it's not a requirement. It's just kind of a respect thing. This is going to go into all the stuff that we pretty much talked about, what the superintendent's responsibilities are at the meeting. We pretty much covered them in the other slides. The superintendent should not have to repeat everything orally at length that's in their reports, but you should highlight, and part of what you need to remember too, even when it comes to discussion, if you have had a conversation with an agenda item that you've asked a question and you've gotten the answer and you're comfortable, it's okay, excuse me, to ask that question at the table. Your superintendent will give the same answer, but sometimes you know that it's a question that the audience is waiting to hear, and that's okay. It's not grandstanding, it's not making a show, it's just making sure that sometimes you have an audience that are watching and you know everything that's playing out, and they're sitting there, because it's always their perception as well, right? And they're wondering, well, how did that just go through without any explanation? So if you had a question, sometimes that's the way to go. You have to manage your meeting length, right? If it's a really long night, it might not be the way to do it. So things to consider. And the superintendent should have the necessary staff attending to speak on any presentation or report. That does not mean that the superintendent constantly has to have administration presenting at meetings either. Questions that you get, this is normal for you. You get questions from the public. The superintendent can follow up at another time or in the meeting if they have an answer. But obviously, once it's closed to public comment, there's no back and forth. Let's see. Okay, 10 recommendations for board meetings. Faithfully attend all meetings. Recognize that decisions are made by the majority of the board and then supported by all board members. Come to meetings prepared and informed to make decisions on the available facts. Focus on policy making, planning, and goal setting. Remember, you're all the way up at the top when you're overseeing. Delegate authority for policy implementation administration to the superintendent. If you find yourself that you're asking too many detailed questions, I have had board members reach out to me or superintendents that there could be 30 questions from one board member per meeting, okay? Now, if you have 9 board members, think what that's like. If you have another issue that needs to be worked out. You may find a lot more at certain meetings, like there might be more questions when budget's a good one, right? You might get more questions for budget certain times, but if you're getting that every week, there's a bigger issue there that you need to deal with as a board. And whether it's one board member that needs to be dealt with, or it's a superintendent that needs to be dealt with, that depends on what's happening. So just things to be aware of and how meetings are playing out can determine that. Let's see. Okay, we've covered that. Follow parliamentary procedure and communicate appropriately. Encourage open expression of opinions by being courteous and respectful of others. Let people finish their thoughts. And don't mistake the fact that you don't get the board to buy in with the fact that the board did not hear you. Sometimes the board hears you, but they may not agree. The majority may not agree, and that's okay. Refuse to surrender judgment to individuals or special interest groups. We've talked about that. Respect confidentiality of information. Make all decisions based on the educational welfare of all students. Again, you're going to hear that over and over and over again. Excuse me. So why use parliamentary procedure? And I feel like there should be something there. There it is. So you don't have a meeting like this. Provide structure to the meeting. It keeps order. Everyone has the opportunity to participate in discussion, observe the rule of majority, protect the rights of the minority. I'm not going to go through all this because we've covered this. What the agenda is, board member responsibility, and parliamentary procedure is based on motions. So the basics, now we're getting a little bit into parliamentary procedure, which I will say, I again have watched your meetings. I think you handle it very well. I caution boards who get, and I have to admit, I mentioned this to Damali when she came to me and she said, let's do a parliamentary procedure presentation. I fear when boards get too into the parliamentary procedure, they become weapons. And it becomes very overwhelming for new board members that come on, right? Because none of you are on this board because you have a degree in parliamentary procedure. None of you are here because you went to school to be a board member, right? And you shouldn't be expected to be at that level. That being said, there are basics. We're going to go through a majority of them. And I think you're well aware of them as a board because I've watched it play out. You also need to depend on your board secretary because your board secretary will be very good in helping you align that. If you have a question, and I tell this to all new board members, a lot of boards, by the way, do follow parliamentary procedures on a basic level, but a lot of board members don't know how to move forward, and that will be driven by direction from the board secretary. If there is something you want to do, but you are not sure how to do it in a parliamentary manner, raise your hand and ask the question. Say, I want to do blah, blah, blah. How do I do that? Because most important is your opinion and your question or your voice needs to be heard. So that's one of the reasons that I worry about parliamentary procedure. It's obviously very important, and I don't mean to discount that. But I don't ever want a board member to feel like they didn't get to say what they wanted to say because they didn't know how to do it. And as I said, don't confuse that with weaponizing it. Because I have watched boards that use it. I have watched board members use it so well. Matter of fact, it's how I get educated on the process because I have learned a lot from watching some of these boards. But then the same board member will turn around and act like they don't realize that they're not allowed to speak at this point in time. So use Robert's rules as a way to keep your meetings cordial, fair, okay? As opposed to weaponized. That's my cautionary tale. So quorum is the number of members present to hold a legal meeting. It is in your policy what a quorum is. Without a quorum, you can still set the meeting time for another meeting, end a meeting already in progress. If somebody leaves and you don't have enough people, you can still do that. Take a short break or recess and meet as a committee for information and discussion only, taking no action. So a committee doesn't need a quorum, shouldn't have a quorum. Types of motions. There's the main motion, which brings ideas before the group.
I have
Yes.
a question with the quorum, like at the committee, just thinking about it, like for us, the quorum would be 5 members. So then if we did like, let's say 4 members for a committee, knowing that it's really 3 members for the committee and then the board president could be there, so that would be 4. How do you do that in terms of a vote if you have like 2 and 2? Like if you're voting to pass something, like let's just say there's a budget committee.
You shouldn't be voting in a committee. Why are you voting in a committee?
So would you, I guess for vote for something to pass out of committee into the, like,
No,
how
you're
does that
not.
work?
Committees aren't made to vote. They're made to get a discussion, dive into details, to see if there's an interest, enough of an interest to bring it forward. Okay? So, as you said, you have 5. So if the majority of the committee would like to bring something forward, they should.
Or it would be 4,
Well, we said,
3 or 3, unless the board president doesn't count. The president doesn't count, okay, all right. So then it's 3, never mind. Because 5 would be a quorum.
right, 5
so
would be,
we
I'm
can't
sorry.
have- We can't have 5.
I'm sorry. I'm not
I was
functioning
just
on all
thinking, like-
cylinders, you're right, yes. Again, I deal with so many different size boards and stuff, and I
Yeah.
should have known that one. Yeah, so yeah,
Got it.
yeah. And you know what? If it's controversial, if you don't have enough interest within the committee, it probably isn't worth bringing to the board. But that doesn't mean if you're board members who are not on the committee, see, this is where that whole committee thing gets a little dicey, right? Because if you have a lot of interest from members who aren't on the committee, and you get a strong push as president, you need to have that consideration and conversation. It just might need to come to the board for discussion. It doesn't have to be anything further than that. But the goal of the committee is to kind of vet out the details and bring forth a little bit more meat and into what has been considered. And all of that needs to be brought forward. The good news, the bad news, it's basically reporting back. Look, we looked into this. We thought we found this information. We recommend that we go forward with this, but this is the other side of it. It shouldn't be, we only take out one piece from the committee. The committee needs to lay it all out.
Got it. Thank you.
And again, not always easily done.
No.
I'm not telling you that this is an art. It's not a science.
I have a lot of committee questions because that's part of our agenda today to discuss, so
Okay.
that's.
Yeah, and again, I recommend that you gather them all together. It's going to be a process for you before you get into it. If you want to run some of them by me and I can give you any kind of feedback, I'd be happy to. And then if we can come up with some kind of a document for everybody to answer them or, that kind of stuff. If I can't give you the answer personally as an FSR, I can get you the answer. I can also speak to other FSRs and get other feedback. So I can give you a bunch of information when it comes to that. Yes?
Can you explain the role of the superintendent and possibly the BA for a committee, on the committee?
Well, they're the expert. I'm sorry? They're the expert, right? And you need to weigh heavily on that. That's really important. And that goes back to what I had told you with that respect. If you find yourself constantly questioning that, you have a problem that needs to be addressed. And it doesn't matter whether it's the committee or it's a board meeting or something else. And again, if it's just one board member, it's a board member problem. If it's two, you have to figure that out. But yes, anybody, the administration, depending on the committee you're doing, your BA, let's say facilities, right? You may have maintenance personnel. Those kind of people, they're the experts. That's what they're paid here to do. You need to trust them. Doesn't mean you can't ask questions, but you need to trust them. So back to, is that good? Any other questions? And just know if you're going into committees, you're going to have hiccups. You're going to have bumps. Give each other grace. Understand that, just remember everybody's coming from the same place for the benefit of the students. So types of motions are the main one we just said, subsidiary, treats or disposes of a main motion, or to move business along, incidental, privileged, and bring back. I'm going to go through them all, so I'll read each one of those. The main motion, it introduces a principal subject. There's only one main motion, may be considered at a time, must be disposed of before another can be considered. And the way to start a motion is to say, I move. Main motions require a second, and they are debatable and amendable, and a majority vote is required to pass a main motion. So here's an example. I move the district implement the standards-based report cards for the 25-26 school year. Board member 2, I second the motion, and the board president says the motion has been made, seconded. Is there discussion?
With that, if you make the motion and then it comes down to voting, can you vote no if you made the motion?
Sure, because during discussion, you may have come around to another side,
Okay.
right? Everybody has a vote, doesn't matter, once it's on the table. And, sometimes that's a good sign, right? Sometimes it's discussed and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't think of that. And that's the end of it. Hopefully it's the majority at that point, because if one person flipped and the rest are on the other side, I don't know. Anything's possible. It's an adventure. Yes.
So it's a motion to discuss, not a motion to approve?
No. Once the motion goes through, then you discuss it, and then you take a vote. It's what you're doing now. Debating a motion, president recognizes each speaker and gives all members a chance to speak. Usually everybody gets one shot, and then you go around again. Debate should be confined to the question being considered. That's a big one. Avoid using members' names during debate. Everything should be addressed to the board president. During debate, all remarks should be addressed to the board president, not to other board members. Board civility allows for productive debates. Just check yourself. If you feel like you're getting really fired up about something, it happens. Just take a breath and take a step back, because sometimes that's why your message doesn't get across. Sometimes that's all the other board members see. So it's really important that you approach it without getting fired up about something. But sometimes it's something important to us, and it happens. We're all human. Just make sure you keep it civil.
So a good standard for that would be like if there's discussions, then the items come back, like to me.
Mhm.
And I guess how do you have like discussion essentially across the table?
You're really not supposed to. You're not supposed to. If you are not having an issue with something, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's why I always say with parliamentary procedure, I was on a board, and I couldn't have told you half the stuff when I was on the board. We never needed it. And it wasn't that we didn't have discussion. And it's not the end of the world if you are a group that can work together. It becomes, there's 9 of you. I was on a board of 5. It's a little bit different. Again, a larger board, you need a little bit more rules to control things. And if you have the process, but yeah, if there's no issue and you want to avoid the back and forth, that's where the issues tend to come up. So those are conversations that you need to have as a board. And if you go forward with that and you stick to that, you stick to it all the time. You have to be really careful as board president that if you're going to make sure that that's being followed, that every board member follows it. Okay? Again, none of this is easy. It's just when the rules get in, it gets more complicated. And I don't want you to get caught up in the rules to stop the business from moving forward and voices being heard. But sometimes you need to implement the rules in order for that to happen too.
Can I ask a question about this?
Of course.
I'm struggling on this a little bit.
Okay.
If I actually don't understand what you just said, I cannot ask you. I have to address the president. The president, I didn't understand what she said.
No,
This
what
is-
you would do, what you would do is you would address the president and
Right.
say, can you explain whatever it is you need explained? Can I get an explanation of?
Okay.
That's to stop the back and forth. Because if you ask somebody on this side, well, I don't understand what you mean. And then they say, well, what don't you get?
Right.
And that's what you want to avoid. So that's the purpose of it. And it's how you pose that question. It also removes that personal feeling and that you don't want, everybody should have a chance to speak, but you don't want the back and forth if possible. And it might be 2 questions before you get to the answer, and that's okay. But it does change the way you're asking the question.
I like that.
Let's see. So the main motion can be amended by adding a word or a phrase, removing part of the motion but not changing the intent, substitution, removing part of the motion and inserting a word or a phrase. Subsidiary motions are not main motions. It affects the disposition of a main motion. There's only one main motion on the floor at a time. So here's the example. Board member number 1, I move that we amend the main motion to read, the district will implement the standards-based report cards for the 25-26 school year. Board member 2 says, I second the motion. Board president, the motion to amend the main motion, this is where it gets really crazy, to read, has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. If there's a conversation on that, then there can be a conversation on that, okay? So now, you have not voted on the motion. You have voted to amend that motion. And it's good for the president to review what is actually being voted on, because this can get very confusing, okay? So the vote taken was only on the amendment. You still need to vote on the main amended motion. Other subsidiary motions is that you can lay it on the table, which postpones discussing for a later time in the current meeting. Postpone definitely to delay action on a pending motion until a subsequent meeting. And refer to a committee, which will happen a lot, right? If there's a new item on the board, on the board agenda, and it has to do with facilities, and there's a bunch of questions, and nothing's moving anywhere, it might be, and you have the time, and you don't need to vote on it immediately, send it back to the committee to vet out those questions, and then encourage board members to submit those questions to the committee. That's the benefit of a committee, right? As a committee of a whole, you go around and around and around, sometimes on something that you may not have all the answers to anyway. Incidental motions, change the procedure for handling a motion, but not the motion itself. It's not debatable. So I think you use all of these: point of order, withdrawal of motion, point of information, board member point of order or point of information, board president, yes, your point. Board member, I want to clarify, we are voting on the amendment only. Board president, that is correct. The vote is for the amendment to the main motion. The point of this is obviously, if you're confused, we don't want you voting on something that you're not aware of, that you're not sure of what you're voting on. There's an example of withdrawing a motion. I will read that. You can read that. Bring back motions to resume consideration of a motion that was previously laid on the table is to take from the table is not debatable. Rescind is a motion to repeal a previously adopted motion at different meeting entirely. Respect the rights of absent members to address their concerns with previous actions. In other words, don't do it just because you know the board member isn't here, right? That would not want this to occur. And then a motion to reconsider. So not only will you get this presentation, I'm also going to send you, we have a little pamphlet, which will be in a PDF format that I will send to you, that you can keep. So if you ever need to go through at the table, and next time I come in, I'll try to bring in little pamphlets on it if we have them printed up, because they're good to go to. But again, I always refer to your BA, right? Your board secretary. I'm sure he can walk you through whatever you need to do. At the end of a board meeting, excuse me, did the board meeting accomplish the board's work? Ask yourself these questions. What did we do at this meeting to advance student achievement? I can tell you I attended a reorganization meeting, and the meeting was 4 hours. And at the end of 4 hours, they never even passed the calendar. So just as a heads up, what do we do at this meeting to advance student achievement? Don't get caught up in the minutia, right? That's the key. Make sure that what you're doing is that you're here for the students. Would anyone watching this meeting be able to tell that student achievement is our top priority? And sometimes there's not. And I'm not going to use, budget is an example of what you're doing for the students, right? So don't get caught up in the fact that you could have a full, and those tend to be very long meetings, but make no mistake, everything discussed at that budget meeting is going to affect the students. So I want to make sure my message is clear that it's not always, the students themselves that you're talking about, but it is the effect on the students. Did the board stay focused on the board's work and not stray into operational issues? Did you go too far into the weeds trying to do the job of the administration? And then ask yourself, what went well tonight, and what, if anything, could have been done better? And those are really good questions for you to ask yourself on your drive home. And they should be easily answered. Okay, questions? Yes.
I have a question on rescinding a motion.
Oh.
So if we made a motion tonight, we'll go by the example.
Let me go back to that.
The example you gave us for the standard-based report card, correct?
Okay.
So if we had made that tonight and we voted on it and it passed,
Mm-hmm.
can somebody come to the next meeting and want to rescind that because we have somebody who's not here tonight? Like, when would that be, like a rescinding a motion be used?
It's a great question. And I don't really have an answer for you because it's the different scenarios. I will ask your board secretary if he wants to weigh in on this.
So in this scenario, you're saying that like, let's say this meeting, like, we make a motion, the motion passes, and then you're saying that at the next meeting, somebody wants, but the motion would have already passed.
Right, but
So-
it says here,
It says
At
it
a
has to be
different-
at the same meeting, right?
it says rescind is a motion to
I'm gonna go back
repeal
to
a
the rescind.
previously adopted motion at a different meeting entirely, respects the rights of absent members to address their concerns with previous actions. I mean, it kind of seems to me that it could
You would need
really,
a majority to approve that.
Yeah, you still
Okay.
need a second.
So we pass
we'll do standard-based report card
the
because we're not
standard-based
doing that.
report cards tonight, right? And at our next meeting, Mr. Cohen makes that motion to rescind it because Dr. Robinson wasn't at the meeting. You would need a majority vote on
Okay,
that
okay.
motion
To rescind.
to then rescind.
Okay.
Then that motion would come back to the floor to be made and discussed and passed or not.
But it would have to
So-
be a majority here would have to say, okay, let's
Yes.
rescind this. Okay.
Yes,
Only 'cause I see that-
unilaterally do that.
Okay.
And just so you know, that's why it's saying respect the rights of the absent members. So if you get the opportunity, don't throw it on the agenda because now you have the votes. That's not doing it appropriately. But you could have something that you've passed and then things have changed. And a couple of months down the road, you need to rescind that motion, right? And for some reason that something else has come up.
I just wanted to clarify because it could be used in not a good way.
Exactly,
Or like
which is why
weaponized.
that's on there. And that's why,
Right. Okay,
thank you. Thank you very much.
This type of thing actually has somewhat come up in the past. But one thing that is to note is if the motion was approved and it's tied to funding, if you bring it up a month,
Yes.
2 months, 3 months down the line, and we've already we've already appropriated money towards something, or, like we have contracts and things like that, it gets much more complicated, if not impossible from a regulatory standpoint, to rescind.
Yeah, I don't think you can't rescind something that the action's been taken on.
Yeah.
You can rescind it if the action hasn't been taken on it. So to your point, yes, with the finance, if you've already signed contracts, you can't rescind that. You wouldn't be able to back that out.
So the reconsider is, a motion is passed at the meeting, and then everyone votes on it, and then the prevailing person, who, if you voted in the prevailing manner, you can then say, you know what, I'm going to reconsider? When would that
That
come
one
up?
comes in the same meeting.
Right, but when would that happen? Like,
So
would you go through the
sometimes-
whole effort of going through it, and then you vote, and then someone said, let's do it again?
Yeah, because sometimes the conversation continues, right? And somebody changes their mind, or they voted and everybody voted, and then they've been thinking about it because they heard something else and they go back. So yeah, again, it's not a practice you want to do all the time, but the importance of that is sometimes debate will change your position, or you see, wait a minute, I'm the deciding factor, and now I'm kind of on the fence.
I think sometimes, like the way that our meeting structure is, for instance, if we had a public comment section before we voted, then we vote, and then we had another,
Yeah.
comments that made you think about something in a different way, or you feel like the sentiment of the board may have changed and you want to make a motion. I am assuming that might be how it would come up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, as long as it's not constantly happening, it's a good thing. This is why I talk about parliamentary procedure, and then it's like, it becomes weaponized, and I have watched boards do this, and nothing gets done. And if you you have another problem that has to be worked out. So, that's the key. But I will get you those pamphlets, and I'm always going to say, go back to your board secretary for advice and recommendation, and then if you have a board attorney at the meeting, that's another option. I've also watched board attorneys manage the entire meeting with people who are very well-versed in parliamentary procedure. And that's not a good thing, because it's a lot of money you're paying them to do that, unfortunately. So,
Well,
that's what I have.
the funny part is that we asked you to do this presentation like months and months ago.
Yes.
And I think you also weren't able to come in a previous time because of a snowstorm and things like that. But yet, I think a lot of what you mentioned today is like food for thought for me. And so thank you so much for putting this presentation together. It was really relevant. And hopefully, there's a takeaway for like all of us from this, and we'll continue to have the conversation. I definitely will be reaching out to you about the board norms. I think as we're doing committees and things like that, it's nothing's gonna, like stop our process, but I think that there's definitely ways that we can fine tune our structure for the longevity of the board, for something to live beyond just this board.
Right, and don't discount hybrid committees. Some things will be a committee of a whole, some things will work better in committee. So if things aren't working, don't discount that. You might start out all as committee into committees and then find issues. And again, I recommend communication being such an important factor in committees so that board members don't feel like they're being left out of the decision-making.
I think so far we've spoken about, like for instance, personnel being committee of the whole. And also getting some additional feedback over years now that was also shared. So I believe that we've been operating as a hybrid for a while with a lot of ad hoc committees. I think going to the committee structure and making permanent committees, knowing that also now we're going to pull the committee of the whole as maybe like the other process, but I think hybrid.
As you develop your plan, and I know you're very organized, so create a plan and create a timeline and a way to assess the board's feedback in how it's working. And then do it, 4 months in, do it quarterly, do a check, see what you need to tweak. Give it another 4 months, see what you need to tweak. So that because you're starting it out, and this way you get it to go the way it needs to go. And everybody's heard. Okay, that's the biggest thing. It's the biggest issue with boards that become divided or dysfunctional. They want to be heard, and you should be. You're a volunteer, you put the time in, you do a lot of work, you do a lot of research, you need to be heard. You just have to figure out how to manage it in the most efficient manner. So that's what I would recommend.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you for having me. I always enjoy the back and forth, so I appreciate it. And thanks for stumping me. That's always helpful too. I always learn from it. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Hopefully your voice returns to you soon. Yes. All right. Does anyone feel the need for like a 5-minute recess for bathroom or? No? Okay, yeah. All right, so it's 8:32. I'll take do I need to make a motion? I'm making a motion. I'm making a motion for a 5-minute recess. Can I get a second? Angela Pucci-Bender. And all those in favor? Aye. All right, we are in recess. We'll return at 8:37. We will return to our meeting at 8:43. Dan, seconded by Ed. Ed pre-seconded the motion. So, all in favor? All right. So we will open our first set of public comments. Please state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing no members of the public, we are opened at 8:43 and closed at 8:44. All right, so now on to our regular cow agenda. Nothing, well, can I get a motion to approve resolutions P1 through P5? Dan, and then seconded by Ed. Any questions or comments regarding P1 through P5?
May I speak? I just want to recognize Lori Babin is retiring, and I'm not exactly sure how many years she's been in the district, but she was probably the second person that I talked to in the district, maybe the first, because she called me to schedule my interview. And she's been nothing but supportive and really a great colleague, and I'll be sad to see her go, but I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, Lori's been great.
I highly recommend that all board members vote no on P1. Thank you.
Noted, noted.
I would just like to echo that. Not yours, James, but echo Greg's, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for the length of time that you've been here.
I'd like to say congratulations to Christine Gunset. My children both had her for elementary school over at Byrd, and she was fantastic, and I wish her a warm retirement.
Excellent. All right. Seeing no other questions, we'll get roll call. Yes, Dan.
Since we're doing this a little bit, just on P5, just want to thank Carl Johnson for his extended service to our community. Assistant track coach is not the most highlighted and coveted role, but he's been a consistent supporter, coaching girls pole vault before it was even a state recognized program. So that's kind of the backbone of our community, that kind of effort. So thanks.
Excellent, thank you. And Mr. Canellis?
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes?
Ms. Parlamas?
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Calvez? Absent, sorry. Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
I apologize for the delays here. We have a little bit of a typo going.
No problem.
Motion passes.
Mr. Canellis, did you
Did
miss?
you miss,
Mr. Tang?
Yes.
I was like,
Sorry, Mr. Tang.
excellent, thank you. All right, so on to our general portion. So policy, is there anything else up for policy? I know we're also going to discuss the committees, but is there anything else that we're supposed to be up for on policy? No. All right, so on to committees. I would like for us to just discuss some things here, and then I will put it into a forum that I can forward on to James to have into like a full like reading, like a structure to create a first reading, a first draft. And then we'll take a look at that first draft at the next meeting, at the next meeting. And then make whatever edits and things like that that we want to see, if we want to see edits. And then we can then push it on to a second read and approve. Any questions about that process? Okay, all right. So to start, are there any, I know Mr. Cohen had put together a lot of those, that draft document. I know that we talked about making one edit, but is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up, or we can just break down the document? I'll just open it. All right. So I know our former policy number for this was, hold on, 0155. We also had this other policy for 9130, but that was like really old that Rona gave us. So the Board of Education authorizes the creation of committees of board members charged to conduct studies, make recommendations to the board, and act in an advisory capacity. Committees are not authorized to take action on behalf of the board. Confidential matters and superintendent search must remain within executive session boundaries and will not be discussed in a committee. I think that and I think we should all just like freely, speak on this. With regards to that sentence, like the confidential matters and superintendent search, that's like the superintendent search is something that we hopefully don't do often, but do we think that this needs to go into our policy?
Just to clarify, it's sentences that I took from other boards that have committee structure, so, yeah, it's up to us.
And thank you for the work that you put into this document. Any thoughts or anything about that first paragraph that you want to see different, you want to add? Does everyone want me to send out the link again, just so it's at the top of your, okay, all right, let's start there, hold on. Actually, and then I'll send out. All right, so I sent 2 emails. I actually sent the PDF in the first one, but the second one, I sent an email like to the collaborators on the document so that you can see it. You can pull it up live. So look at the second document. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same. It's a track document. All right, so we're on that first paragraph. Mm-hmm. All right. When everyone has had the opportunity, if you could look up, just so that I know. We can move on to the next paragraph. Okay. So the second paragraph is an ad hoc committee may be created and changed. Oh, let me see. It says charged. Changed at any time by the board president or a majority of the board members present and voting. The president shall appoint members to any committees so created and charged. Yeah, the charge is the original word. Now I get it. No, I get it now. Like now that I didn't get the charge at the beginning. So created and charged. Members shall serve until the committee is discharged. Ad hoc committees must include a defined purpose and sunset date and created only by a majority vote of the board. I know traditionally we've had ad hoc committees have been just determined by the board president. But I don't mind this one. I don't think it really changes any of the way that we functioned in the past. Because if you are doing, if the board president is recommending an ad hoc committee that is not supported by the board, it's not going to be successful, so, seems reasonable to me.
I agree, it's reasonable, yeah.
So committees may be added or subtracted year to year by the president, yes. The president, in consultation with the vice president, shall appoint members and chairpersons to all committees created and charged based on the following criteria. Committees shall consist of no more than 4 board members, one of whom shall be the president, who shall serve as ex officio member of all board committees. A member may request or refuse appointment to a committee. A member's refusal to serve on any one committee shall not prejudice his or her appointment to another committee. When possible, no member shall serve on the same committee for more than 2 consecutive years. No member shall chair the same committee more than 3 consecutive years. When possible, board members will serve on the same number of committees. Understood.
There were some comments made on that one in the original document.
Yes.
Like 3 and 4 seem to contradict one another.
Which, 3 and 4?
Right, that comment was made. If you're saying
Yes.
that, so, no member shall serve on the same committee for more than 2 consecutive years, and then you're saying they can't serve as,
The chair for the same.
for 3 consecutive
Yeah.
years. I was just curious too, like what the rationale for 2 years. You know, I was just wondering if there was value in having somebody serve a little longer for historical purposes.
I think that there could be.
Yeah,
yes.
I think you could probably strike 3,
Yeah,
item 3, period. Because if you have someone who knows policy, like Rona, we always go back to, right?
yeah.
She was good at it for years. Maybe she shouldn't chair it every year forever, but if you have someone who's an expert on a committee, I think
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense.
I mean, it's good to have a rotation of people serving on different committees. I think it just gives you a broader sense of what's going on.
It doesn't limit you.
Yeah,
Right,
I
right.
agree. I think
But you
there's,
also don't want the same person chairing it for 10 years.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's the
the-
more important
Yeah,
rule.
the chair is the key.
And in that situation, it would be helpful if you had another member of the committee that has either chaired it in the past or been a longstanding member of the committee, and then now is supporting a new leadership of that committee. Like, I think that it's sustainable, you're growing, future leadership and things like that. So I like that. So, okay, we are going to strike 3.
Sorry, so serve and chair are mutually exclusive, right?
No, I think
I'm just
I
trying
think
to
it's
understand.
more than saying that we'd have somebody that could chair for 3 years, but no more. But then bullet 3 says they can't be on the committee for more than 2 years, so it's just, it kind of, they conflict.
Right, that's why
Yeah, so if we just remove 3 entirely,
Yeah.
then we're putting
Then
the
we're good.
emphasis,
Okay, remove 3 entirely.
Yeah.
Okay.
just
Okay.
get rid of it, because it's more important that the chair rotates.
Correct.
Okay, right, understand.
I'm trying to strike it.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, so you'll take care of it, thank you. And the standing committees and the committee assignments shall be published on the board's website. Updated board committees shall be posted directly on the district website by January 31st. I like that. The board reserves the right to meet and work as a committee of the whole in informational discussion and exploratory sessions. No official action shall be taken at these meetings unless so advertised. Committees of the whole, committees of the whole meetings. I'll say committee of the whole meetings shall be advertised and conducted as public meetings and be chaired by the president. Yes. We are doing that right now.
I think we're doing it. Do we need to write that in?
It was not in the original. We did not have that.
But if it,
Oh, I see what you're saying. We never had it, so
Yes, I'm just putting what we're doing right now with the
codifying, so to speak.
But there shouldn't be any voting items, right, is what this says here.
It would be our goal not, it is always our goal not to have voting items on our CAL meetings.
Right. But there's
However,
often exceptions.
there
so-
are exceptions like for business that needs to be conducted. And in those situations, what we've moved towards is allowing for a public comment section beforehand and then voting and then,
We're not blocking that in the policy.
No, no. And I think those are going to be more a part of our board norms than specifically in this document.
But in case there is voting, only 4 people, would that legally count
So
as a
I think we
vote?
can't, just like what Ms. Del Rosso said, for committee of the whole. So the committee meetings are going to be something separate. The committee of the whole is essentially what you see in front of us now. Like, for
Okay.
instance, like personnel, we're going to treat it as committee of the whole. And so for our personnel actions, it's going to be the entire board. And so then we would be able to vote
Okay.
if we had to.
Right, that last paragraph just says, we're going to be meeting in committees, but we reserve the right to be a committee of the whole if necessary for something, right? Not that we're going to continue to do that, because the committees replace the committee of the whole. But
Provides flexibility.
we're keeping our rights if we want to.
All right. Committee meetings may be called at any time by the committee chairperson or when a meeting is requested by a majority of the members of the committee. Okay. Committee meetings, where it says a chairperson shall be appointed by the president,
Oh, okay. I removed that because it's already.
it's already up above, right?
Above, yeah.
Yeah. Committee meetings shall not be open to the public except that a majority of the committee or the chairperson may open the meeting to the public or invite persons whose knowledge of expertise may be useful to the committee. Seems reasonable to me. Any questions? Nope. All right. Agenda items shall be decided upon by the chairperson in consultation with the superintendent. Should a board member, whether a member of the committee or not, wish for a topic to be brought for discussion at a committee meeting, they shall email the chairperson with said request. The item will be put on a future agenda of one of the next 2 meetings of the committee. That,
I'm just thinking about that
Yeah.
line. There's probably items that the superintendent should be giving to the committee to talk about, as opposed to it be voted on, or, like, nothing precludes saying that but I think the superintendent should have the absolute power to say, you need to discuss this. This topic is important to the district or to the function.
I think typically, under normal circumstances of the calendar year, things that happen monthly, annually.
Right.
It's typically the superintendent that brings these items.
The day-to-day items.
To the attention of the committee, right? And then the committee has the conversation, the superintendent, the BA are the experts in the area, and they, discuss the pros and the cons. And I think that that's important to remember, that that's really what's
Yeah.
driving the committees, is
Yeah.
sharing
Yeah,
the
to
information
support.
from central office to the committee.
Yeah, agreed.
Again, so that's the idea, and the idea is that the chairman of the committee will speak with a superintendent to decide an agenda, and of course, if the superintendent says something that needs to be discussed, then I assume the chairman will add that. I just used the legal wording that I saw I saw it in multiple other districts, that's how they wrote it. We can say differently, but that's the only logic.
It's just wording, right? It says decided upon by the chairperson as opposed to decided upon by the superintendent. It should just be in consultation with both.
Yeah.
It says agenda items shall be decided upon by the chairperson in consultation with the superintendent.
And we can say by the chairperson and the superintendent, we can say change it to and.
Well, that mimics what we do in the cows already, where it's, the superintendent is bringing issues and then the board president sets the agenda. So it kind of, I think this accurately reflects what we're doing in a smaller setting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reading it out loud, hearing us discuss it, I think I'm happy with the language. I hear your point, and
Yeah.
I think it says that, even if we need to read it twice.
Okay.
I concede.
Okay.
Rescind.
You withdraw your motion,
Yeah.
right? You just-
I rescind my,
Yeah.
Second that.
What Putting it in action, great, okay. I think we all agree there. And then again, these are, I hope not, this document is gonna live beyond us, so I hope that future boards just understand the flexibility that's being provided there. The chairperson shall keep reasonably complete minutes of the meeting. The minutes shall be emailed to the entire board within 3 school days of the meeting or 3 business days if school is not in session. Should the chairperson not email the minutes within the time specified, the administration, after consulting with the president, shall email the minutes. Board members shall not reply all to any meeting minutes.
I have a
Email.
comment on this one. I think this puts a little bit undue burden on the administration to keep secondary minutes, because if the first set of minutes are not sent out, then you're saying, okay, backup minutes, surface and send them out. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's very practical.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, make a suggestion. Let's hear it.
I've seen where it's a shared Google Doc between the committee chair and the superintendent and the BA, so that everyone's on the same page as what's being shared to the rest of the board, so
Yeah.
that there's, consensus between the superintendent, BA, and the chair. And then
So-
everyone gets the same information. There's nothing going out without,
Yeah, and I assume that there is gonna be like a shared drive file for like our committees and all of those things, so we'd be able to have.
So
that.
response and,
Is it live meeting minutes, basically? Like, as the meeting's happening, you're taking the notes in the
well,
shared?
between, the meeting minutes would be, the agenda would be set. Typically, I've seen where the agenda is set by the superintendent to bring to the committee, but that's under normal monthly-ish, circumstances, and then the minutes will get written in within the agenda, but it's between, it starts with both the chair and the superintendent and the BA, and then that would get shared, wrapped up and shared for the rest.
So if we do it that way, we don't have to do the email with the do not reply all. We don't have to send
Right.
it out by email. We can all just have it accessed.
I was going to say,
correct?
replace the word email with shared
Yeah.
in the
But it's only
wording.
view,
Yeah.
right? A view
Yeah,
only
That's
action.
shared.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
But not
Because
to have
then
the questions on that document, the
And
questions would be
if I
sent
was
separately.
chairing a committee, I might not share the minutes until I was finished with them, and then
You wanna
I would
add
add everyone else as a viewer. You can add the rest of the board as a viewer, so. How does this affects you, so how does that sound? Reasonable? Okay.
It's honestly how we do a lot of internal agendas, it's the agenda and then comes the minutes afterwards.
But meeting minutes, once they're final, should be issued, not just shared, right? There should be some kind of
It might be
formal notice saying the minutes for the ABC
Are
meeting
available on the
on
drive.
XYZ date are available.
Would that be on the, for instance, when we had our regular, what would our regular meeting be just called? Would it be regular meeting? Like, so when we have a regular meeting,
You'd only have an action meeting.
yeah, so then we have our action meeting, let's say monthly, would we be able to formalize the minutes for, like, issue the minutes for the, like, what?
The minutes should be issued prior to the action meeting.
Or read at the meeting.
You don't typically approve
No, but
committee
the-
meeting minutes. So if the idea, as I understand it, is that you're going to be discussing items earlier in the month for action later in the month, then the minutes for those committees should be out to all board members well before the action
prepare
meeting,
for
so that
discussion.
there's time
course.
for folks to have conversation.
But were you saying that sharing, like adding you to this document does not consist of?
No, I think there should just be a formal recognition that minutes are issued. By way of example, Mr. Canellis doesn't necessarily look into the shared drives every day, and you shared stuff that day. You should point out to Mr. Canellis that there have been minutes issued for that meeting.
Got it.
Which is our current practice of the board minutes, right? Colleen will send you a thing that says the minutes have been shared with you in the folder. So it's there and you know.
Got it. So I guess the reason why I say this, when I add collaborators to a document, it triggers an email to be sent where I write, like attached, please see this document, blah, blah, blah. But whenever Colleen sends us adds us to a drive or adds documents, I don't actually get an email triggered from her, and based on maybe her settings. And then my trigger is that email that she sends out.
It's because it's shared at the root.
Yeah.
She's just adding files to the folder.
Yeah, and she's notifying you that she's doing, and I think the reason we want to do that even still with committees is that we don't want to share it with whoever's on the board right now, because ultimately there'll be somebody else on the board, years from now, and they might need access to those minutes. So we're going to want them in the actual drive that people can access in the future.
And some of us have rules that say if it comes from Google, put it into the Google folder, and we pay attention to it later. And so actual email that says it's been issued is probably the better way to do it.
No problem.
It also locks the file. It says like, this is the final version, no edit after that, so I think that's.
Can I
So we'll keep
clarify
the-
something, though?
Sure.
My intent, the meeting minutes are from the conversations that were had. It's collected from that meeting, and then it's shared publicly of what was discussed during that committee meeting. The actionable items are also part of the agenda that gets discussed with the board president and the superintendent and the BA before the next meeting, right? And then the whole board gets those tentative question or opportunity to look at the agenda prior to the night of, right? So really the committee meeting is really more of a discussion of what's coming up, what's happening.
A deep dive.
I'm sorry?
A deep dive.
Yeah, thinking off the top of your head, conversation, and then shared with the rest of the board, and also then reported, like if you had a committee meeting on curriculum and instruction, we were talking about what was going to be looked into for the following school year. We know that there are 5 programs that are being investigated, and the internal committee, the lead principal will, with the department head, with 5 teachers, will search and get back to the superintendent on their findings. Things like easier, not really resolutions, but discussions of what's going on in the district and for the future.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time expressing that.
No,
I think, and I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yes, some boards have a special section of the agenda where they have the readout of committee reports.
Right, thank you.
And you can absolutely have that. Other districts just combine that into the actual voting area. So you would say business and finance, and the finance chair would then give his report, and then they would go into their motions.
Is there
So you could do it 2 different ways, but to the same effect.
so then maybe as per our regulations for this policy, then we would figure out how we wanted to do ours. Okay. All right. Is there anything that is left out of this draft?
Question for me. The time and location is decided by the committee, right?
Committee and chairperson,
Okay, right, sounds good.
yep. And
And
superintendent.
administration.
Yeah.
In some months, you don't need that meeting.
But
It's not like you have to have the meeting every month if there's nothing to really.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And I just want to thank Boaz for putting this together. It's your specialty these days, the new Rona maybe.
Yeah.
All right,
Dr.
so.
Robinson, the only other thing I would add, and I haven't looked at the document that you're all looking at, is that there be language in there that doesn't preclude there being a resolution item that was not in committee. So by way of example, I get something, an out-of-district tuition, right? Something completely innocuous, and I get the contract on Wednesday, but the committee meeting was on Tuesday, and we got to vote on it on the following, Monday. We still want to be able to have that fluidity And the board always has the right to send the motion back to committee if there was some contentious item that somehow was trying to be nefariously slipped onto an agenda. You could always push it back to committee.
But to your point, that's why you have the meeting with the superintendent, BA, and president just before.
Right, but it still, stuff could come up that.
Always do.
I think
They always
that
do.
should go into the voting
The regular.
policy, not in the, because this just defines the structure of committees. But what you're, I think we should just make sure that, yeah.
Fine, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so we should check that policy.
Yeah. Do you have that? Okay. All right, so we'll make sure that that is included. If it's not included in another policy, then I'll ask you if you're able to help me craft a sentence that covers that. Or between the two policies, we'll just make sure that that's covered. All right, so I will submit this draft to Mr. Canales, and we can do a first read. Great job, everyone. Thank you. Let me pull up the next thing. Okay, so the NJSBA resolution, I was just going to give an update. So last month I spoke with one of the lawyers from NJSBA just to they had some questions about the resolution, just to kind of get a better sense of what it is that our ultimate goal. And two things came out of it. Like one, the attorney that I was speaking with did like our resolution, thought that it's in the spirit of things that they are focused on with the NJSBA with regards to cooperative purchasing, and saying that they understand that it's for certain instructional materials and things like that. So yay, great. The other part was that they did acknowledge that there are certain things that are already on cooperative purchasing agreements. So we'll see. There's a meeting coming up. I think it's like next week. Yeah, the 14th. So there's a meeting coming up on the 14th, and that's when they're going to. There's a resolutions committee meeting for the state for NJSBA, and they are going to discuss our resolution as well as like I think four or five other resolutions, and vote to approve it so that it's included in the delegate assembly, or reject it, and then they'll give us an answer. Either myself and or Mr. Cohn will be there. It's a virtual meeting, so that's great. I'll report back.
I know I'm the rep. I just wanted to know, I have a training I have to conduct that night that I scheduled in January, and I can't change it, so that's why I can't attend that meeting.
Awesome, thank you. The next item is board retreat. So I was trying to figure out after our last meeting, after the last 3 years, I've been wanting to do a board retreat to kind of get us onto, just like get a company or get a organization or a person or a consultant or whatever to help us create a process with regards to, one, resolving some of any internal conflicts that we have on the board, as well as moving towards a process of like better understanding. Some of what Ms. Del Rosa actually went over today, and just kind of like defining it better, creating, like going through maybe creating a more defined board manual. Probably the board norms is something that I think now I can put a word to what it was that I was trying to create. And there are companies out there that do different kinds of, like leadership styles testing and things like that, that you're able to work with each other, get to know each other a little better professionally, so that our conversations are much more effective and things like that. So I did reach out to a nationally recognized company, Korn Ferry actually, and their price is $75,000 to $100,000. So So
Can you repeat that price, please?
Sorry, $100,000. So, and that's just like a ballpark figure based on what I spoke with. And so I already know, and they already know where we likely stand on that, which is why they said they tend to not get a chance to work in the public sector as often because of that. And their product is amazing, though. I had the opportunity to work with them when I was at New York Presbyterian, and it really is effective. So if there's some other consultant or something like that that works in the public sector, they did give me the name of an organization, and I've already spoken with Ms. Holloway. She is going to make a recommendation as well, and actually I spoke with Ms. Del Rosso today, and we can probably piecemeal a variety of things that are within school boards and do this process over time and get credit for it as well while we're doing it. So stay tuned. There will be more like trainings and more ways for us to interact on mission. All right. Any questions or comments or suggestions about it? And it won't be $75,000 to $100,000. All right. All right.
They still,
IMP, there's nothing. Special services, nothing. Management community, nothing. Can I get a motion to approve G1 and G2? We have Ms. Parlamas, seconded by Mr. Hayward. Any questions or comments for G1 and G2? Seeing none, if we could have roll call, please.
Mr. Tang,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas,
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Ms. Calvez, Dr. Robinson.
Yes,
Motion passes.
great. On to business items. Mr. Canellis?
Okay, thank you. So the first item that we want to talk about is just a development that there is a law, S-3041, that was passed on December 23rd that limits our ability to use cooperative purchasing agreements for time and materials bids. So what are time and material bids? Time and material bids are, I need a plumber, and he's going to charge me X rate, and he's going to, for hours, and he's going to charge me cost or list plus some markup. And it's primarily the way we get most things done in the Buildings and Grounds Department. I need an electrician. I need somebody to do concrete work. I need somebody to come and fix an HVAC unit. The law prohibits school districts from using time and material bids on such work moving forward. Public Works is what it actually says. And Public Works are any contract that is for construction, reconstruction, demolition, alteration, custom fabrication, repair work, or maintenance work. So basically anything that we do that's more than $2,000. The law was passed. It became effective on March 23rd. And so it's the law of the land right now. However, regulation has not been set by the Division of Local Government Services. So the reason why I have this on our agenda is that on our next agenda, I'm going to ask that you consider a resolution that speaks out about how this S-3041 is going to hinder school districts from efficiently and effectively administering certain contracts. So the end result of this is that I will have to go out, or we will have to go out and bid every trade. So I'm going to have to bid an electrician, I'm going to have to bid a plumber, I'm going to have to bid concrete, I'm going to bid painting, and what have you, as opposed to just relying on the co-ops who essentially are doing the same thing that I am. They're putting out a bid, they're getting a quote on labor and a quote on materials. So that's why I'm bringing this up. If you read the resolution, it calls out two things in particular. One that is the prohibition, blanket prohibition of co-ops on time and material bids. And then the second is a little bit more nuanced. The law allows for these things called indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity contracts. And what they're going to be is something very similar to a time and material bids, but the regulation went a bit, the current proposed regulation went a bit further than that and said those are capped at $150,000. Well, $150,000 within the co-op, we're all approving against the same purchase contract. It'll be gone instantaneously. So it doesn't really make much sense. And even if you apply it to the school, for certain things and for certain schools, you may individually go over the $150,000 limit. So the resolution that'll be that you have right now, it just expresses concern about the law and the proposed regulations that are going to be out there for us to have to live by. So our action item is in the next month or so, you're going to see a lot of bids that we're putting out for almost all of the trades. And then we'll get into a cycle and hopefully we'll get some relief and then could go back to using the co-ops at some point. Yes.
So in other words, is that like looking for plumbing, looking for electric, and then having an open PO for?
We wouldn't have an open PO. We would have an open contract where they would
Okay.
agree to do work at a particular price and markup on cost or list for materials.
But it's not the open PO
It's not an
situation.
open PO.
Okay,
no.
great, thank you.
Not that everything the politicians do is logical, but what was the logic behind the law? And then the second question is, what are other districts are saying? Like, what are their plans?
So the law was passed due to heavy influence by the interests that support a prevailing wage. And so it appears that some of the purchasing co-ops maybe were not doing a great job at submitting their certified payroll, which is required for all public works projects. And I think it was also an attempt to provide more opportunities for companies to get involved. So for instance, if you got the HVAC contract in, say, Bergen bids, right? You're going to get almost all of the business in Bergen County, and everybody else is not going to get any, because it's just so much easier for us to use them because it's already been bid. So that's kind of the idea there. And your second question?
What our districts are doing?
So everybody's essentially doing what we're doing, and that is doing their own time and material bids. Some larger districts have always done their own time and material bids. The risk, and why I particularly don't like the idea, is that then I am sworn to low bid. Whereas here, I could shop co-ops and find, well, ABC contractor is a really good contractor. He knows our systems, et cetera. I want to use that one. When I go to the bidding, I will have to go to the lowest bidder. So that kind of hits items, my discussion item, as well as the first, actually the second item under new business for our next meeting. Natural gas reserve auction. If you remember, I think it was about 9 months ago, I came to you with a electrical auction for our kilowatt hours. This is the same thing now for natural gas. We keep them in alternating years so that we're not doing both at the same time. I was concerned that the market wasn't ripe given current world events. Apparently, the natural gas market has not been impacted according to our consultants, so I was pleasantly surprised about that. And also, we are going to be forced to do it because I think our current contract runs out on June 30th. So whether it's a good time or a bad time, it is the time. So we will again do that same reverse auctioning through Mantis. So they will go out and they will solicit bids. They will take the average of those bids. That will be our trigger price that we collectively will approve on the April 20th meeting. And then on the 21st, we will have the reverse auction, and we'll have the ability then to accept any offer that is lower than the trigger, or we could accept the trigger. But the trigger's an average, so you really can't accept that, so we would have to go to something that was closest to. Or we could just say, hey, we don't really like the outcome of this auction, let's do it all over again, which we can absolutely do. So there's no cost to the district every time we go about doing this process, and we should be in good shape once we get that in, and we'll probably do, I think it's a 24-month contract on that. And just to give you some perspective, our current price is $7.30 per centum cubic fee. And that's CCF. I did not know what you measure natural gas in, but apparently you do them in CCFs. And then lastly, on our agenda for next time, we will have the extensions for both of our ESS agreements. And that is our paras and our substitutes. So if you remember last year, we did a 5-year contract with ESS for both paras and subs. And so now what we need to amend is not the fee that ESS is earning, but the underlying payout rate. So what the actual substitute or the actual para will make. The budget that we talked about at our last meeting assumed a 2% raise for both substitutes and paras. And that is what we will bring forward to the board at our next meeting for approval. And if you were curious, the percentages that ESS make that were flat across the 5 years is 30.9% on paras and 26.89% on subs. That is all I have, unless people have questions.
Actually, James, one more thing.
ESS.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, ESS.
Oh.
Can't say with that.
When's the last time we had a look at our rates, like our comparative rates
For what?
for the subs, for ESS?
Well, we went out last year.
Last year?
Last year. We did a competitive contracting, is what we went out with after getting approval to use that method of procurement. And ESS was the lowest price, as well as it excelled in all of the other criteria that we had set up as part of our rubric.
I remember that was like December. Okay, all right. Thank you.
James, could you say a few words about the spring custodial inspection?
I could. So as part of our agreement with Aramark, which is our third-party custodial vendor, we have a third company that's really a contract administrator. The name of the company is Advocate. And what they do for us is they work on the proposal, but they also work on the payroll every week. They work on any special projects that may come up, but they also do 2 inspections every year. And when they do those inspections, we set up common goals. Now, I will preface this by saying what I'm about to say doesn't mean we have no issues in our buildings as it relates to cleanliness and what have you. But what I can report for the very first time since I've been in the district, we have been able to score a 90% or better in each of our buildings. That has been a goal that we set when I first got here. We were not there, and we would have been able to get there in this last inspection that occurred on Thursday. And I attribute that to the team that Aramark has put in place here with Doug Guerrero, who's our building manager, as well as Stephen, can't remember Stephen's last name, who's our district manager, as well as Paul Courts, our director of buildings and grounds, and each and every one of our custodians who painstakingly clean these buildings every night. So we're on a good trajectory. We're very happy about this. We're not going to rest on our laurels. There's always things that could be better. One of the things that we are now can focus on is bathrooms, and in particular grout in the bathrooms. Unfortunately, several years ago, our bathroom grout was sealed. But when they sealed it dirty. so you can't get it clean that easily. So we're going to go through a process of either trying really hard with some solution that we think we might be able to get our hands on that's usable in a school to clean and then reseal, clean, grout, or we're going to have to regrout some of those bathroom floors, regrout, and then seal. But the moral of the story is that we will seal clean grout in the future. And so while our bathroom grout looks dirty, it's actually clean. But appearances are everything. So we're going to work on getting that resolved over the next, I said year. Advocate said you'd lucky if we can get done in 3, but we'll see.
All right. And,
You probably don't want me to go back to the natural gas, but just a question on that. So you described as that we're looking for a 24-month contract, and we're coming off our current contract at the end of June right now.
I believe so, yes.
We're allowed to do this because we're allowed to do this. If it doesn't work out and the pricing goes crazy, as a school district, are we obligated to enter into this kind of program, or?
We would have to procure the natural gas through some acceptable procurement method, which would either be bidding it, which is essentially what we're doing on our own, or joining into one of the state cooperatives like ACES that NJSBA offers.
So it's not as simple as we just pay PSE&G, right? I
No.
appreciate you. Yeah, I'm asking some silly questions, but it's like we have to do this, and that we have to do it responsibly, is what you're saying.
Correct.
with it.
Correct. And the nicest thing about this, it gets our usage off of the PSE&G bill. Because I don't know about you, but I can't understand the PSE&G bill, and I can't reconcile them. So the minute I get usage off of a PSE&G bill, that's power to us, because now we can absolutely analyze our usage, and we're not sitting here applying credits all over the place that, they do for apparently no reason other than to drive BAs across the state crazy.
I will recuse myself from explaining that. Thank you. Maybe later. But yeah, thank you for that.
Any other
All right.
questions?
Any liaison business? Okay. All right, so we are
Oh, I
on
got
to-
operations, sorry.
Huh?
I missed it. Operations. Our building
Oh,
update. So
yes,
PSA
yes.
is just about done with all of their building reviews. I think they're coming out in a week or so to do the last roofs and exterior spaces that were not accessible during the last visit because they were covered with snow. And so once we get that, I think we have like a 45-day turn on an actual report. So hopefully before the end of this school year, we'll have something to look at and set priorities for.
I look forward to that process. Thank you. All right, so we're on to our public comments, 2 of 2. Seeing no members of the public here, we will open at 9:36 and we will close at 9:36. All right. So I need a motion to go into a second closed session to discuss personnel and staffing matters and contract negotiations. No action will be taken after the closed session, and then we will just adjourn our meeting. I have Christine, seconded by Ms. Stevenson. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. We are in close.